Have you ever wondered, what is humanity's greatest invention? It's a question that invites a myriad of answers. Could it be fire with its mesmerizing flames that brought us warmth, safety, and transformed our food into culinary delights? Or might you argue for the wheel, a symbol of progress, turning the tides of history by enabling trade, commerce, and the exploration of distant lands? These are indeed monumental achievements, but often, in our reflections on the ingenuity of mankind, we regularly overlook something as equally revolutionary, yet so commonplace in our daily lives: money. This simple concept, often just a piece of paper or a metal coin, has reshaped our world in ways we seldom pause to appreciate. Yet money stands apart from other great inventions like fire and the wheel. It's intangible, existing not only in physical form, but as an idea, an abstract construct of human society. Isn't it intriguing how we often overlook money, despite its profound impact, perhaps because it lacks the physical presence of fire's warmth or the wheel's revolution? Money, as we understand it today, is an idea, a collective illusion. Its value, seemingly arbitrary, is a testament to the power of human belief and agreement. Despite its ethereal nature, money's role is anything but insignificant. Imagine a time before money was invented, when the practice of bartering was still favored. A world where every transaction was a negotiation, a dance of exchange where goods and services were traded directly. There was no theoretical value assigned to merchandise in this system, and so every transaction was a one-of-a-kind agreement, dependent on the needs and desires of the people involved. It was a world where trade was not just an economic activity, but a complex social interaction. The era of bartering was like a vast, unregulated marketplace, where the value of goods and services fluctuated as much as people's needs and perceptions. In such a world, the concept of money as an agreed-upon medium of exchange emerged not just as an invention, but as a revolution in human interaction and commerce. Now imagine the humble beginnings of our marketplace, where your daily needs could send you on a quest akin to a puzzle. Say you're standing there, the proud owner of a herd of cattle, your stomach rumbling, eyeing a farmer's lush vegetables. To satisfy your hunger, you offer an entire cow for a bag of those leafy greens. The mismatch is obvious, a cow for a salad. The imbalance is similar to trading a library for a single book. Or consider this. You're a skilled jewelry maker in need of new shoes. You may find yourself bartering a diamond ring or a gold necklace for a simple pair of shoes. This illustrates a glaring flaw in the barter system: its inherent asymmetry. The lack of a standardized medium of exchange made it challenging to find a fair deal. How often did traders feel shortchanged for exchanging their hard work for something seemingly less valuable? The need for a double coincidence of wants, finding someone who not only has what you need but also needs what you have, made trading a cumbersome and often fruitless endeavor. The inefficiency wasn't just a minor inconvenience, it was a significant barrier to economic development and personal prosperity. And that wasn't all. Our money, you see, is not only a medium of exchange, it also serves as a store of value. And due to no fault of their own, some people were unable to store their wealth prior to the invention of money. Picture a farmer. His fields are filled with ripe tomatoes. He toils under the sun, nurturing his crops, but his hard work comes with an expiration date. Tomatoes, succulent but perishable, offer only a transitory window for trade. Once the season ends or the produce spoils, the farmer's opportunity to barter vanishes like the mist in the morning sun. Now, turn your gaze to the jewelry maker. His creations, diamond rings, gold chains, are crafted from durable materials and will stand the test of time. A stockpile of tangible wealth, ready for exchange throughout the year. His merchandise remains as assets, enduring through seasons as a constant source of bartering power. The stark contrast between the farmer and the jewelry maker reveals a harsh reality. The farmer, despite his perseverance, finds himself at a disadvantage. His perishable goods offer no lasting wealth, no reservoir to dip into during off-seasons. The craftsman, meanwhile, enjoys a more stable economic outlook, his wealth preserved in the materials of his creation. Herein lies the inherent inequality of the barter system, a system blind to the varying shelf lives of human effort. Money, when it finally emerged, offered a solution to this imbalance, a way for even the humblest farmer to store the fruits of his labor beyond the harvest season. However, there is also the problem of trading in a world where your one-of-a-kind craft only appeals to a select few. You see, in modern times, finding a niche market is a celebrated strategy for business success. But rewind to the days before money, and this approach could result in an economic disaster. But in a barter-based economy, the most successful were those who dealt in universally desired items, such as weapons for protection, animal skins for warmth, and salt, an essential for food preservation. This global phenomenon brought about a fascinating shift in human behavior. People began acquiring these sought-after items not out of immediate need, but as a form of investment. Knowing that weapons, salt, or animal skins were always in demand, they stockpiled these as a way to secure future trade. This marked the dawn of commodity money, items of intrinsic value that served as a universal medium of exchange. From practical commodities like salt and weapons, humanity's ingenuity took another leap. We started using items like shells and beads, objects with little intrinsic value, as currency. These tiny collectibles, chosen for their rarity or beauty, represented a significant evolution in commerce. No longer bound by the limitations of perishable or bulky goods, these early forms of money laid the foundation for a more efficient and expansive economy. This transition from bartering essential commodities to using symbolic tokens illustrates a remarkable transformation in human society. It highlights our ability to assign value to abstract concepts, paving the way for the sophisticated financial systems we rely on today. The need for a more flexible, universally accepted medium of exchange became glaringly obvious and paved the way for one of humanity's most pivotal inventions. Consider the transformative shift from a direct exchange of goods to using arbitrary objects as placeholders of value, a tangible "I owe you." The novelty was nothing short of revolutionary. It allowed people to trade beyond immediate needs, holding on to a universally recognized symbol of their labor or goods. This placeholder could then be exchanged for what they truly needed or desired at a later time. The brilliance of this idea resonated across all civilizations, ushering in a global transition from barter to a money-based trading system. However, this new system hinged on a crucial economic principle: scarcity. The value of these placeholders depended on their rarity. It's a simple rule of economics: the more abundant an item, the less it is valued. So, common items like sand or easily collected shells were not viable as a stable medium of exchange. They lacked the essential quality of scarcity that gives money its worth. In response to this need for a scarce and standardized medium, a significant development occurred around 770 BC in China: the creation of the first metal coins. These coins, crafted from precious metals, embodied the key attributes of effective currency: scarcity, durability, and uniformity. Unlike shells or grains, metal coins couldn't be effortlessly gathered from nature. Their production required skill and resources, inherently limiting their availability. This marked a pivotal moment in the history of money. Metal coins became more than just trade facilitators. They were symbols of power and culture, shaping economies and societies. The introduction of these coins was a critical step in the evolution of financial systems, leading to the complex economies we navigate today. The Chinese honored their proud heritage in a way that combined creativity and tradition as they ushered in the era of metal currency. These early coins were thoughtfully designed to be circular, a shape that made them not only easy to handle, but also gentle on the fingers when reaching into pockets or pouches. And the choice of material for these coins was equally deliberate. Bronze, a metal not readily available like shells on a beach, was chosen for its scarcity and inherent value. It was a union of practicality and legacy. This transition marked the turning point in the long journey of money. Currency was no longer just a symbolic representation of value. In short, it had finally obtained intrinsic value. Each coin's worth was directly tied to the value of the metal from which it was made. A coin fashioned from 1 gram of gold held the value of that gram, and as a result, the tangibility and measurability of value made these early coins more than mere tokens. They were commodities in their own right. That is why this period in monetary history was crucial, as it represented a time when money was tangible and its value unquestionable, grounded in the weight and composition of the metal. Finally, the system provided a clear and straightforward measure of wealth that facilitated trade and commerce with a reliability that the barter system could never match. Now, as the concept of money took root, it did not take long for the ancient rulers and kings to recognize its power. They quickly recognized that the accumulation of these small pieces of precious metal wasn't just wealth, it was a means to exert control and influence. In 600 BC, King Alyattes of Lydia pioneered the first official mint for coin production. His innovation was not just in the production of coins, but in their design, a mix of gold and silver. Furthermore, each coin bore a stamped image, signifying its denomination. This seemingly simple feature was revolutionary. Henceforth, the value of a coin was immediately recognizable by the image it carried, streamlining transactions and solidifying trust in this new monetary system. However, the story of money took a detour as rulers began to see its potential to expand their wealth and influence. The scarcity that once gave precious metals their value became a limitation to those in power. So, in the pursuit of more wealth, they began to debase the coins. The process was subtle at first, a slight reduction in size, a gradual mixing of gold and silver with lesser metals. And over time, these alterations accumulated, and the coins in circulation lost their intrinsic value. Soon they became worth less than the value proclaimed by the images stamped upon them. This shift marked the starting point when money became just an illusion. The value of currency was no longer tied strictly to the material it was made of. It now depended on the trust and agreement of those who used it. The metal coin, once a tangible store of wealth, had transformed into a symbol of value, its worth dictated by decree and perception rather than its own substance. A crucial alteration in the history of money, as it set the stage for the complex monetary systems we know of today, where the value of currency is a matter of collective belief, backed not by gold or silver, but by the authority and stability of governments. With the emergence of international trade, merchants faced a new challenge as they migrated from the era of debased coins. Because you see, for extended journeys, the bulky and heavy metal coins were impractical. However, kings and other monarchs pioneered yet another clever solution to permit commerce across enormous distances, specifically IOU certificates. Each piece of paper represented a promise, a guarantee from the crown itself that it was as good as the metal it stood for. Initially, these certificates were directly linked to tangible assets. A clear example was the British pound sterling, symbolizing an actual pound of sterling silver. Now, trust was the cornerstone of this new system. Traders and citizens alike placed their faith in these pieces of paper, confident in the assurance that they held real value. Initially, this trust was well-founded. The paper could indeed be redeemed for metal coins. And gradually, a significant shift occurred in the perception of money. As more and more IOU certificates circulated, their convenience and ease of use led to a decrease in the demand for physical coins. Over time, the value of these paper notes began to be recognized in their own right. Thus, the concept of money underwent a profound transformation. No longer did its value rest on the physical properties of gold and silver. Instead, it hinged on the collective belief and trust of the people. This was the beginning of modern monetary systems, where the value of currency is a shared belief, upheld by the stability and authority of governments, a true testament to the power of human trust and faith, and a concept that would lay the foundation for the modern financial systems that dominate our world today. The essence of money has remained largely unchanged throughout history, from the reigns of ancient kings to the age of modern governments and central banks. Nevertheless, a concept whose value is decided by the collective belief of its users rather than by its inherent worth is an illusion. The $10,000 Singapore note is a perfect illustration of this. Although it is no longer in production, this banknote, equivalent to $7,500 continues to hold significant purchasing power. With it, one could acquire luxury items, real estate, vehicles, and even tangible assets like gold. Remarkably, the cost to produce this note is less than 20 cents, a stark contrast to its purchasing power. This disparity highlights the fundamental nature of fiat currency, the system underneath most modern economies. Fiat, a Latin term meaning "let it be done," rightly describes this concept. It is a decree, an authoritative determination by the government of the value of its currency. Such a system relies on legal enforcement and public trust to maintain the currency's value. In the fiat currency system, the physical substance of money, be it paper or metal, is secondary to the value ascribed to it by government decree and public confidence. This system is a sophisticated transition of the ancient practices of assigning value to objects, demonstrating the enduring power of collective belief in shaping economic realities. When one digs deeper into the modern dynamics of money, one quickly realizes that the illusion of its value, which we rarely think about in our daily lives, is well understood by governments. And very much like the monarchs of the past, today's authorities recognize the immense power wielded by money. And in their quest for more, they have a tool that ancient kings did not: the ability to create money virtually out of thin air. Take, for instance, the United States government. If they need an additional $340 million, say, for a new state-of-the-art F-22 jet, they have the option to simply print more money. This might sound like an easy solution, but it's not without its consequences. The main concern here is inflation. Now here is where it gets tricky. Money, at its core, is a medium of exchange, a representation of goods and services in the economy. Its value is intrinsically linked to the total output of these goods and services. When governments print money excessively, without a corresponding increase in goods and services, inflation kicks in. This is because more money chasing the same amount of goods leads to a price increase, effectively devaluing the currency. The phenomenon is not just a concern for economists, it resonates with all of us. When you think about the United States dollar, the world's current global reserve currency, the implications of inflation are profound. The health of the dollar impacts economies worldwide. It's a delicate balance, maintaining the illusion of money's value while ensuring it fulfills its role as a stable means of exchange. And that's why discussions about the dollar's future, and indeed the future of global finance, are more relevant than ever. As 2020 unfolded, it became a year etched in history, not just for the health crisis it presented, but also for the seismic economic upheavals it triggered. Countries, one after another, shut down their economies, attempting to curb the pandemic's spread. This global shutdown transformed bustling cities into ghost towns and vibrant marketplaces into silent echoes of their former selves. The ripple effects were profound and far-reaching. In this climate of uncertainty, the US government, like many others, resorted to an extraordinary measure, an aggressive monetary expansion. To grasp the magnitude, consider that a staggering 40% of all US dollars in circulation were printed in just an 18-month span. This action, though a necessary response to an unprecedented crisis, was not without its long-term implications. Inflation began to rear its head, evident in everyday transactions. The prices of essentials like lumber skyrocketed, tripling in a year, impacting everything from construction to consumer goods. Restaurants, a microcosm of the economy, subtly raised prices. That additional cost for guacamole at your local Chipotle. It's a small indicator of a much larger economic shift. The government stimulus and unemployment benefits were a double-edged sword. They provided much-needed relief to millions, yet they also contributed to inflationary pressures in an economy still struggling to find its footing. This was a delicate balancing act, providing financial support without destabilizing the economy. One sector hit particularly hard was the service industry. The US relies heavily on these workers, many of whom earn below minimum wage and depend on tips. As pandemic restrictions took hold, their financial vulnerability was exposed. Fewer customers meant fewer tips, and for many, this meant earnings plummeted below sustainable levels. The impact was not just financial but emotional, as many faced the stark reality of choosing between health risks and economic survival. This cascading effect didn't stop at individuals. Businesses, especially small, locally owned ones, found themselves in a precarious position. Without a steady stream of customers and facing increasing operational costs, many teetered on the brink of closure. The pandemic, in essence, triggered a domino effect, from individual financial struggles to widespread business closures, each aspect feeding into the next, illustrating the interconnected nature of our economy. As we look to the future, these challenges underscore the need for resilient economic systems that can withstand such shocks. They highlight the importance of policies that not only provide immediate relief, but also consider long-term economic stability. The pandemic has been a harsh teacher, imparting lessons on economic interdependence, the fragility of our systems, and the need for strategies that balance immediate relief with sustainable economic health. In the intricate dance of modern economics, the role of the Federal Reserve in tandem with the US government's fiscal strategies presents a compelling, albeit complex, narrative. At the heart of this narrative lies a pivotal question. How does a government balance the immediate need to support its people during crises with the long-term health of its economy? This dilemma was exceptionally evident during the pandemic. As the government rolled out generous unemployment and stimulus checks, a paradox emerged. For some, this aid eclipsed what they earned while employed, leading to a critical question. Why return to work when government support is more financially lucrative? This situation underscores a fundamental challenge in economic policymaking: the policy of providing necessary aid while avoiding disincentives for work. The Federal Reserve, often perceived as a shadowy entity, plays a crucial role in this economic saga. Its actions, though less visible to the public eye, have far-reaching implications. The United States' staggering national debt of $34 trillion, largely in the form of bonds and treasury notes, is a testament to this complexity. These instruments, essentially IOUs issued by the government, promise repayment with interest. However, the returns on these investments, like the 3.9% yield from a 10-year Treasury bond, tell a story of diminishing returns in the face of inflation. The investor, in essence, faces a losing battle against the eroding value of money over time. Despite this, the global appetite for US bonds remains strong, driven by the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency and faith in the US economy. The government raised funds through bond sales into various initiatives, fueling economic activity. But the cycle of debt repayment is where the plot thickens. To repay its debts, the government often buys back bonds not with revenue but with new money, essentially created out of thin air by the Federal Reserve. Since the onset of the pandemic in March 2020, this practice has intensified. The Federal Reserve's massive buyback of over $1 trillion in bonds is a strategic move to pump liquidity into the banking system. This liquidity empowers banks to issue more loans, fostering economic growth. However, this strategy is akin to walking a tightrope. It risks inflating the money supply, potentially devaluing the dollar. The implementation of multi-trillion-dollar stimulus packages adds another layer to this narrative. These packages are aimed at reviving the economy, but also contribute to the burdening national debt. This situation poses a profound question. How long can such a cycle continue? Can the balance between stimulating economic growth and preserving the dollar's value be maintained, or are we headed for a massive economic correction? As we navigate these uncharted waters, the decisions of policymakers and the Federal Reserve will shape not just the US economy, but the global financial landscape. Their actions are a delicate balancing act, one that will determine the economic legacy of our times. In the ever-evolving game of finance, an unsettling truth emerges. New money diminishes the value of old money. To illustrate, imagine watching your bank balance, static in numbers, yet shrinking in purchasing power. This scenario isn't just a hypothetical, it's the reality of holding wealth in fiat currencies like the US dollar. As the government prints more money, the value of each dollar that you own subtly erodes away. Your savings, seemingly safe, lose their power to buy goods and services over time. This phenomenon exposes the illusory nature of money, but recognizing this illusion is the first step on the path to financial freedom. It's a realization that money, devoid of intrinsic value, derives worth only from the collective belief in its ability. And this understanding is crucial because it shifts the focus from accumulating money to acquiring assets that can outpace inflation and preserve and increase your wealth. However, this strategy is not about winning in the traditional sense, it's about mitigating loss. As the value of currency diminishes, the nominal dollar value of global assets rises. But here's the twist. This apparent growth is often a mirage, an illusion amplified by the devaluing currency in which these assets are denominated. Consider the stock market, seemingly in a perpetual upward trajectory. It creates the illusion of unending prosperity. Yet, when you change the perspective, when you measure something like the S&P 500 index in terms of gold instead of US dollars, the mirage of growth vanishes dramatically. By this metric, we're no further ahead than we were in 1997. It's a great reminder that the value of our investments is deeply intertwined with the health of the currency. This brings us to the heart of the matter, the long-term implications of a fiat-based system. With the ability to create an unlimited supply of money, do we face a future where currency values perpetually decline? What are the broader social consequences? Will the wealth gap continue to widen, exacerbating economic inequality? Or will we, as a society, confront and rectify a financial system that seems increasingly disconnected from the realities of its users? The future remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the current trajectory is unsustainable. All things considered, the solution may not be as straightforward. However, awareness and understanding are the first steps towards change.